This is Pulse of Africa, the face of Ethiopia, the voice of Africa. Hello viewers, I'm Barka Sisa with the Pulse of Africa News, our top stories for today. The 46th ordinary session of the Executive Council of the African Union will begin tomorrow. AU extends full support for South Africa's leadership of G20. Trump says Gaza ceasefire should be cancelled unless all Israel hostage freed. Elon Musk-led group makes $97 billion bid for control of OpenAI. Now to news in detail. The 46th ordinary session of the Executive Council of the African Union will be held in Addis Ababa from 12 to 13 February 2025. Foreign affairs ministers of African countries are arriving in Addis Ababa to partake at the African Union's 46th ordinary session of the Executive Council. Accordingly, Senegal's Foreign Affairs Minister Yassine Fall, International Relations Minister of Botswana Fenio Butale, and Minister of Trade and Tourism of Djibouti Mohamed Warsama Dire arrived in Addis Ababa. Also, Foreign Affairs Minister of Gambia Mamadou Tangara, Foreign Affairs Minister of Lesotho Lejone Pot-Joane, and Minister of International Relations and Cooperation of Namibia Pea Muchlenga, as well as Foreign Affairs Minister of Cameroon Lejune Mibela arrived in Addis Ababa tonight. Upon arrival, senior officials of Ethiopian government warmly welcomed the ministers at Addis Ababa Bole International Airport. The 46th ordinary session of the Executive Council expected to deliberate on several continental issues. Now to the African Union member states. A coalition of African civil society organizations and human rights defenders has strongly urged African Union member states to swiftly adopt and ratify the EU Convention on Ending Violence Against Women and Girls. The coalition, which includes women's rights advocates and human rights defenders from various EU member countries, called on the heads of states and governments to ratify the African Union Declaration on the Elimination of Violence Against Women and Girls. In a meeting held just before the 38th Summit of Heads of State in Addis Ababa, leaders of civil society organizations emphasized the need for the African Union to demonstrate its commitment to ending violence against women and girls. They called for the EU to consider the perspectives of affected individuals, advocate for victim compensation, and ensure that perpetrators are brought to justice. Thelma Auri, founding director of the Institute for Social Transformation, underscored the importance of reparations for historical injustices such as slavery and discrimination, noting the disproportionate impact of these issues on women and girls. She stressed that sexual exploitation, harassment, and violence must be prioritized on the African Union's agenda. Now to South Africa. EU extends full support for South Africa's leadership of G20. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said last week that he will not attend G20 summit in Johannesburg this month, citing concerns over country's policies. European Council President Antonio Costa expressed that European Union's full support mandate for South Africa's leadership of the G20 during a phone call with President Cyril Ramaphosa. I highlighted EU's commitment to deepen ties with South Africa as a reliable and predictable partner, Costa said in remarks posted on X. He said he looks forward to South Africa-EU bilateral summit on March 13. I expressed the EU's full support to South Africa's leadership of the G20 and its ambition to strengthen multilateral cooperation and the pact for the future to address the most pressing global issues, he added. Museveni meets team from Econetics to discuss partnership on Uganda carbon market. President Museveni has received an Australian-based delegation who called on him at the State House in Tibet to discuss, among other issues, Uganda's carbon removal potential. The delegation presented a groundbreaking partnership aimed at positioning Uganda as a leader in the carbon market. With over 3 million hectares of forest and 40 million hectares of agricultural land, Uganda has enormous carbon removal potential. As part of this collaboration, Econetics is said to become one of Uganda's implementation partners, helping to elevate the country's farmers and forestry project to a new levels of sustainability and economic potential. The initiative is expected to generate up to $500 million in investments, reinforcing the nation's commitment to climate resilience while driving significant financial benefit for local communities. The collaboration will focus on scaling up high-integrity carbon credit projects that align with Uganda's sustainable development objectives.
Ethiopia is my blood, your story and our identity, ornamented by centuries of sacrifice. The story of resurgent Ethiopia and burgeoning Africa is here, only on the Pulse of Africa channel, all the time. Pulse of Africa, the face of Ethiopia, the voice of Africa.
Now to ISIS. ISIS remains resilient despite a global counter-terrorism effort, UN warners. The UN warned on Monday about the continued threats posed by terrorist group ISIS or Daesh, saying that it continued to show resilience and adapt its approach. Despite steady counter-terrorism efforts by member states, international and regional partners, Daesh or ISIS continue to demonstrate resilience and adapt its modus operandi. UN Under-Secretary General for Counter-Terrorism Vladimir Volnokov told a Security Council meeting on threats to international peace and security caused by terrorist actors. On Syria, Volnokov warned that stockpiles of advanced weapons could fall into terrorist hands and that ISIS continue to use Syria's Bardia region as a hub for planning operation. He also noted a decline in repatriation efforts, saying that only 5 member states had resumed more than 760 individuals from Iraq and Syria in the reporting period. Trump says Gaza's ceasefire should be cancelled unless all Israel hostages freed. U.S. President Donald Trump said on Monday that Hamas should release all hostages held by the military group in Gaza by mid-Saturday, or he would propose cancelling the Israel-Hamas ceasefire and let hell break out. Trump cautioned that Israel might want to override him on the issue and said he might speak to Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. But in a wide-ranging session with reporters in the Oval Office, Trump expressed frustration with the condition of the last group of hostages freed by Hamas and by the announcement by the military group that it would hold further releases. He said he wanted the hostages released en masse instead of a few at a time. We want them all back. That's all for today, and Buzayo is ready for the business news.
Hello viewers, I'm Buzayo Bogala with the latest business news. First, the headlines. Dangote oil refinery to reach full capacity in 30 days. Elon Musk-led group proposes buying OpenAI for $97.4 billion. Now the news in detail. Nigeria's Dangote oil refinery, the largest in Africa, is set to begin full operations in the next 30 days. Located in Lagos, this 650,000 barrel per day refinery was built by Nigerian billionaire Aliko Dangote and aims to transform the country's energy landscape. Since starting operations in January last year, the refinery has produced diesel, naphtha, and jet fuel, with petrol production beginning in September. This move is part of Nigeria's strategy to reduce reliance on imported refined products and strengthen its domestic fuel supply. However, securing a consistent supply of crude locally has been a challenge for the refinery. Once it reaches full capacity, Dangote's refinery is set to compete with European refiners and potential export products across Africa and beyond. As it continues to wrap up production, the refinery promises to be a game-changer, creating jobs and boosting Nigeria's economy while reducing its fuel import costs. Now to Elon Musk-led group proposes buying OpenAI for $97.4 billion. A group of investors led by Elon Musk is offering about $97.4 billion to buy the non-profit behind OpenAI, escalating a dispute with the artificial intelligence company that Musk helped found a decade ago. Musk and his own AI startup XAI and a consortium of investment firms want to take control of the ChatGPT maker and revert it to its original charitable mission as a non-profit research lab, according to Musk's attorney Mark Teberoff. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman quickly rejected the unsolicited bid on Musk's social platform X, saying, "No, thank you, but we will buy Twitter for $9.74 billion if you want." Musk bought Twitter, now called X, for $44 billion in 2022. Musk and Altman, who together helped start OpenAI in 2015 and later competed over who should lead it, have been in a long-running feud over the startup's director since Musk resigned from its board in 2018. The business news for today, and thank you for joining Pulse of Africa. Let me take you to the latest global commodity price news.
That's all from us today. Don't forget to check our website for updates on this and other stories. We thank you for joining us.
This is Pulse of Africa, the face of Ethiopia, the voice of Africa.